Hey there, everybody, and thanks so much for joining us here on KXAN Live. I'm Will Dupree. We're going live now to D.C., where the members of the Texas House and Senate, the Democratic lawmakers who left the state, are holding a news conference to talk about their work advocating for federal voting rights legislation. Earlier today, we will note that the Texas Senate Republicans held a news conference to criticize these Democrats for leaving the state. But again, we will listen in as the Democrats talk about what they're doing in D.C. So let's take a listen as this news conference is about to get underway.
Good. Good? Okay. All right. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. My name is Chris Turner. I am a state representative from House District 101 in Grand Prairie, Texas. And I have the privilege of serving as chair of the Texas House Democratic Caucus. And we're proud today to be joined by several of our distinguished colleagues in the Texas Senate who have joined us here in our nation's capital. You're going to hear from several members of the House and Senate this afternoon talking about why we are here, what we are doing, and what we are fighting back in Texas. So without further ado, it's my privilege to turn the podium over to my colleague and dear friend, the chair of the Senate Democratic Caucus, Senator Carol Alvarado.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. And we are proud and honored, the 9 Democratic senators that are here, to join our colleagues in the House. We stand with you 100% in solidarity. In other words, we got your back. You know, yesterday we had a very intimate meeting with the Vice President, and she kind of went through history. And history does have a way of repeating itself. In 1865, when the 13th Amendment was passed and slaves were freed, and a couple of years later, the 15th Amendment granted them the right to vote. And then suddenly you have Jim Crow laws sweeping the South. So it looks like when certain people start to make progress and start to participate, the rules change, which is what we're seeing 2021. When you see more young people, when you see counties coming up with creative ways to vote, 24-hour voting, drive-through voting, more people of color voting, more women of color, oh wait, we're going to change the laws. So we are here today to hopefully make some progress in the Senate. We know that our constitutional rights are under attack. We're here to defend them. We know also that we will be back, okay? We will be back to address this issue. So it's like a sequel to a movie. And y'all know the sequel is always worse than the first movie. Republicans have broken their promise to our seniors and the disabled by making it harder to vote, and also making it harder for Latinos, African Americans, and Asians. Those of us from Harris County here, we applaud our efforts that our county officials came up with to find creative, safe ways to vote. Yes, the drive-through voting was new. Yes, 24-hour voting was new. And guess what? It worked. But maybe to some people it worked too well. And that's why we're here today. 10,000 people in Harris County used the drive-through voting. Over 50% of them were people of color. The drive-through voting was a success. Yes, it's new. It worked. Over 50% of the people who used that were people of color. 60% were women. So we are here joined in solidarity to hopefully move the ball a little bit. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to State Representative Ron Reynolds from Fort Bend, the Vice Chair of the Black Caucus.
Thank you, Chair Alvarado. We know that as African Americans, we stand on the shoulders of those who made good and necessary trouble to help, as Ms. T has already eloquently stated before, to end Jim Crow laws. You know, once upon a time in our country's unfortunate history that they don't want to teach about when it comes to critical race theory is Jim Crow, an era that long after the passage of the 15th Amendment allowing blacks to vote, they instituted policies specifically so that it would have a disparate impact among black and browns. But they changed those laws through many people making sacrifices, from putting themselves on the line, facing lynching, billy clubs, bulldogs, to end Jim Crow laws. And thanks to Texan Lyndon Baines Johnson, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was signed into law. So we're here to protect the fundamental right to vote. The freedom to vote is a sacred and fundamental part of our functioning democracy. It is what makes America, our home, and the state of Texas so exceptional. Other countries, they envy America because of this great democracy that we have. Our constituents want their rights protected, and that's exactly what we're doing here today, protecting the inalienable, fundamental right to vote. Our profound love for our state cannot be overstated, and that's why we used a procedural move to break quorum and nationalize this critical issue facing both Texas and this entire nation. This bill was just the last and latest of Trump Republicans' attacks on democracy across Texas and the nation. Governor Abbott and Republican legislators will stop at nothing, absolutely unequivocally nothing, to strip Texans of their freedom to vote by continuing to perpetuate the big lie of voter fraud. This special session, and there's nothing special about it, this is a suppression session, has been poisoned from the beginning. Governor Abbott's defunding of the legislative branch is an abuse of power, an act of legislative coercion, and a threat on the very democracy that we stand on. House Republicans, House Bill 3 is just the next step in the continued tax on our democracy. And that's why we will continue to fight. We will continue to speak truth to power. We will continue to make good and necessary trouble to fight against voter suppression and protect the fundamental right to vote. And with that, I'd like to bring up our very own State Senator Royce West from Dallas, Texas.
Representative Reynolds, thank you very much, and to my colleagues. Media, you've heard this refrain over and over again. We're here because of the big lie. That's why we're here. And so for those of you that are in Texas, continue to ask Governor Abbott and others whether or not Trump is lying about the election being stolen. Ask them, do they believe it, over and over again until you get a straight answer from them. Our democracy is under attack. We stand here, and I'm not going to reiterate what everyone else is saying. We stand here in the 21st century. Texas has basically said that we are one of the top states as it relates to technology. We're one of the top states as it relates to the space race. We're in a country now where we have a rover on Mars, talking about sending a man, a persons to the moon to live. But yet and still, we cannot make it more accessible for people to vote in the state of Texas. You think about this. The big issue is Harris County. Motor voter. It wasn't on the books. Okay. What's wrong with it? It made it more accessible to ethnic minorities. If there are problems associated with that particular method of voting, don't take it off. Don't say we shouldn't have it on the books as a method, but we should look at what the problems are and solve the problems associated with it, but make it accessible. In terms of 24-hour voting, the same issue. If there are problems with it, don't give us this stuff about we can't find people to man the polls, we can't find poll watchers. Let it be a county option and allow the county to be responsible for making certain that it's staffed properly and secured properly. Those are things that we can do. Here's the point I'm making to you. If we sit down, as opposed to having suppression laws choke us down, you get that? Choke us down, then we probably can come up with something. I'm glad to see some movement yesterday by the Republicans in the Senate to address some of these issues. But guess what? We're not there yet. We want to see the Barbara Jordan Fair Elections Act passed. And for those who do not know what it is, we ask that you go online and look at it. We're talking about accessibility to voting. We're talking about using 21st century means in order to assure persons have access to voting like never before. And so I'd ask that as we leave here today, that you make certain that you don't let people demonize Democrats as fleeing. We're not fleeing. We're working here today. Okay? And we will continue to work. And what are we doing? What type of work are we doing? I want you to be very specific about this. We're on the Hill trying to convince Chris, Carol, our federal delegation, and other delegations that they need to pass the act. Yes. What else are we doing? We're still here talking to colleagues back home to make certain they understand some of the messaging that needs to be done, as opposed to saying that Democrats are fleeing. You know, the difference is between myself and many of my colleagues. In 2003, I spent 47 days in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And now I'm here with the House to make certain I'm supportive of what we're doing and make certain that everyone understands we have the resolve in order to do what we need to do to represent our constituents. I now want to introduce State Representative Victoria Naive.
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon. My name is Victoria Naive. I serve as state representative for Texas House District 107, representing parts of Dallas, Garland, and Mesquite, Texas. I also served on the House Select Committee on Constitutional Rights and Remedies that heard the election bill that is the subject of why we are here today. And we Texas Democratic legislators represent a broad cross-section of our state of Texas, from Dallas-Fort Worth area to El Paso, to Laredo, to Austin, Houston, San Antonio, and the Rio Grande Valley. We represent collectively over 10 million of our fellow Texans. And now that our Democratic senators have joined us, we represent millions more. In our committee, we heard from parents who brought their children, who were sleeping in chairs in the committee room and testifying in the wee hours of the morning about the detrimental impact of banning drive-through voting would have on their families. We heard from witness after witness testify from the Texas NAACP, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund, and individual after individual about the devastating impact this is going to have on Latinos, on Mexican Americans, on our African American community, and especially our community of people with disabilities. We heard from, and one of the things that was really striking to me was we had women from the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a African-American sorority that brought women from all across the state and talked about the history of discrimination in our state and how they have come decade after decade to advocate to protect and expand our voting rights. There are powerful forces in Texas right now trying to roll back our rights to vote. But we know that the power of the people is stronger. We know that our vote has the power to change the trajectory of our nation. We saw that with the election of President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. And we are inspired. We are inspired by the individuals who testified. We are inspired by our meetings here in Washington, D.C. We were inspired yesterday by Vice President Kamala Harris, and we are not going to give up. We're going to continue to advocate. We're inspired by the millions of Texans, thousands who have personally reached out to our offices in support and asking us to continue to work hard to protect our freedom to vote. And we are inspired by the generations who came before us to do exactly what we are having to do again right now. With that, I'm going to say a few words in Spanish for our Spanish media market. Mi nombre es Victoria Nieves, soy representante estatal de Dallas, represento partes de Dallas, Garland y Mesquite, y aquí estamos con representantes estatales, senadores del estado de Texas, que representamos desde Dallas, Fort Worth, a Austin, San Antonio, El Paso, el Rio Grande Valley, y Houston también. Y nosotros sabemos que los esfuerzos del Partido Republicano para tratar de derrotar nuestro voto están tratando de hacer todo lo que pueden porque ellos miraron que los números de los votos latinos eran los números más altos que hemos visto en años. Y nosotros vamos a seguir luchando para nuestra comunidad. Lo que ellos están haciendo es un asalto en nuestra democracia. Los republicanos tienen la intención de quitarles la libertad del voto. Ellos están decididos a quitarle ese derecho y sabemos que ellos no se detendrán. Pero nosotros, demócratas legislativos, no nos rajamos y vamos a seguir luchando para proteger el voto latino en el estado de Texas. Y aquí estamos porque queremos que pasen el John Lewis Voting Rights Act y también el Pueblo de la Ley, the For the People Act. Y queremos que el Congreso Federal, necesitamos protecciones federales del nivel federal para proteger el voto de los derechos latinos en Texas. Y muchísimas gracias. No nos dejamos y vamos a seguir luchando para nuestra comunidad. It's my honor to introduce the chair of the Senate Hispanic Caucus, a senator from San Antonio, one who's been advocating in the fight, Senator José Menéndez.
Thank you, Representative Niave. Buenas tardes a todos. Good afternoon, everyone. A lot has been said, but I'm going to try to keep it short, and I'm going to try to put a face on this issue. Many of us have stories of immigrant parents or grandparents, but few of us get to hear of the time when your father and your mother had recently been married, and your father is painting the house in Mission, Texas, and the Border Patrol rolls up, and by the time Mama comes out with a limonada que le traía papá, ya casi they had him in the back of the car. All because his wallet was inside. The reason I share this story is because as soon as my parents could become naturalized U.S. citizens, they never missed an election. Not one election. And I can tell you that as a child, I had to go with them. And it became a family event. And so I can remember the little fire station close to the house with the little curtains that you drew and las palanquitas, the little levers that you pulled. I can remember all the different ways as it changed. And as it changed over the years, and as mamá y papá se hacían más viejos, they got older, they needed more help. It's the very reason why MALDIF and the NAACP testified that there's a federal assister law in place today. That in my opinion, and in their opinion, the bill that's being proposed breaks federal law. Yes. The federal law says that anyone can request anyone to assist them, and they're not required to present any oath or testify who they are. So we also had disabled members of the community come and testify before me, a mother and daughter, right in front of me, 8 hours that I sat through the testimony, and I don't serve on the committee of jurisdiction. I sat in as a guest. And I heard the pleas to not make the disabled community potentially criminals. Because the mother said, we can't take an Uber. They need vans with those ramps. They said, we take people that aren't related to us because the disabled community is very unified. And now we're going to have to write some oath and tell them who we are and potentially be at risk of being accused of influencing someone's vote. Folks, at the end of the day, ask yourselves this. After the Attorney General invested 22,000 staff hours to investigate and could only come up with 16 alleged incidences of fraud out of 11 million votes cast, ask yourselves, why are we doing this? That's right. This is a solution in search of a problem to solve. I wish they had this same vigor and venom and desire to solve mass shootings. How many mass shootings have we had in this country? Why aren't we changing laws to fix that? There are so many issues. Why haven't we fixed the electric grid in Texas? Why haven't we expanded Medicaid in Texas? These are some of the things that we're here to discuss. We're not here on vacation. If anyone thinks this is a vacation, let me help you out with your definition. Because I'd much rather be home with my family. But we're here to do a job to represent the millions of men and women, whether they be disabled, whether they be minorities, whether they be recent immigrants, whether they be whatever, who may have their right to vote infringed upon. Folks, they ask, how much voter fraud are you willing to put up with? The question's not, that's not the question, is how many people are you willing to rob them of their vote?
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Next, we represent Representative Vicki Goodwin from Austin, Travis County.
All right, Vicki.
Thank you. The rights of voting Texans live on borrowed time under Texas Republicans. We are here to implore Congress to pass sweeping voting rights legislation. We heard from over 400 constituents back in Texas who came to testify about the elections bill. Their stories fell on deaf ears among the Republicans. Please don't let our pleas fall on deaf ears here in Congress. We have sacrificed a lot to be here. Many of us have left family, spouses, children, loved ones that we take care of. And so this is a sacrifice. We've left our businesses. We are doing everything in our power to fight back. We are not going to allow Governor Abbott to corral and cabin us. We are here to fight. And with that, I will turn it over to Chair Turner to take some questions.
Good job, Vicki. Thank you. Thank you, representatives and senators, for your powerful words. And you see here today the unity we have. And I should note, before we open for a few questions, we have several more members who are still in meetings on the Hill right now, meeting with U.S. senators and making the case. There's members attending a subcommittee hearing on voting rights this afternoon as well. So our members are working hard all over town this afternoon. We'll take a few questions.
How much money has been raised to support this? And are you all spending anything out of pocket, or is this all being supported by donors?
Yeah, Todd, appreciate the question. First off, all this is entirely funded through donations. Our caucus and all the caucuses raise money, except when we're in session, when we're obviously not allowed to do so. We're able to raise money now, and we're actively raising money to be able to support transportation, lodging, the necessities while we're away from Texas. But certainly, yes, members are incurring costs out of pocket, absolutely. And so there's no doubt both things are happening.
You're not collecting any kind of state per diem for your service here? You're obviously not paying yourself.
No, and our those per diems are paid out at the end of the month. So that would be still several weeks away, and I anticipate members are going to decline that.
Well, part of the reason I ask is how long can you guys hold out? I mean, are you all going to stay in Washington through the end of this special session?
So, Todd, our commitment in the House Democratic Caucus is that we are going to stay out until this session is over to kill this bill. And we're going to use the intervening time to shine a harsh national spotlight on the Republican vote suppression efforts and use that pressure to encourage and urge and implore Congress, specifically the U.S. Senate, to pass H.R. 1, the For the People Act, and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And so that's our stated goal. It's been our goal since we left on Monday. That remains our goal today.
Representative Turner, as you raise money and you indicate that's the goal, what happens if that money is not there at the end of the day? What's the plan in that situation?
Well, we're not worried about it. We're not worried about it.
Representative,
Yes.
who else are you meeting with in the Senate, and are you seeing any progress in, you said you were imploring Congress, are you seeing progress in that?
Well, we think so. The feedback we're getting is that our meetings have been productive and have refocused attention on this issue, and that's been helpful to the process in Washington. Yesterday, and there's a lot of meetings, so I don't know that I have the complete list in my head right now, but yesterday members met with Majority Leader Schumer, with Senator Padilla, Senator Booker. There's a meeting with Senator Gillibrand this afternoon. There was a meeting with Senator Warren this morning, Senator Klobuchar, and some other senators as well. And Senator Warnock as well today.
Are you meeting with senators? You met with senators who are sympathetic to your cause. Are you planning on meeting those who are with those who are?
Oh, absolutely.
With even the Texas senators?
Absolutely. Well, we would welcome the opportunity to meet with Senator Cornyn and Senator Cruz and urge them to get off the sidelines and join the fight for democracy, and urge them to use their positions of prominence in the Republican Party to push back on the big lie. Their voices are important, and it would be important for Senator Cruz and Cornyn and Governor Abbott, for that matter, to tell Republicans that it is a lie, that there was widespread voter fraud, that some of the election was stolen from Donald Trump. If they were real leaders, that's what they would do. But so far, they've been quiet, and they're not willing to tell the truth to their supporters. So we're going to meet with any senator we can, and we're going to meet with senators who agree with us, senators who disagree with us, and senators who want to help but haven't figured out the right way to help yet. So we're going to meet with all the above. Last question.
The White House press secretary just said about an hour ago that there were no details on a legislative strategy on voting rights laws. You mentioned the meeting with the vice president. Have they told you anything that they're not telling us?
Well, if there was, we couldn't tell you. Look, we had a very good meeting with the vice president. I haven't seen the press secretary's comments, so I can't speak to that. But what I can say with confidence is that in every meeting we have had, I think we have all been assured there is a 100% commitment to achieving federal action on voting rights and doing it as soon as possible. We are making the case it has to happen now. We are at a crisis point in Texas and elsewhere around the country. It has to happen now, and that's the message we're going to continue to drive home. Thank you.
Can I follow up there briefly? You haven't been able to meet with people like Joe Manchin or Kyrsten Sinema, people who could actually change the conversation.
Actually, that's not true. I was in a meeting with Senator Manchin a few weeks ago, and there'll be other meetings ahead. So thank you.
How will you change the conversation? Is there a planned meeting with Senator Manchin?
Yeah.
Hey there, everybody. Will Dupree again in the KXAN live studio. That was the conclusion of a news conference called in D.C. from members of the Texas House and Senate. On the Democratic side, they are the legislators who left the state in order to at least break quorum in the House to prevent certain legislation from passing, namely the elections bills that are being pushed by the Republicans. We should note that earlier today, the Texas Republican Senate caucus held a news conference after they passed their elections bill yesterday by a vote of about 18-4. You may have seen a few of the senators speaking just a few moments ago coming up to the lectern there, but 9 of them left the state so that they could not vote on that bill yesterday. However, a few Democrats remained in Austin, as we lose our live signal there, to vote against that elections bill. So we are continuing to cover this very wild, unfolding story as it happens throughout this week. All of our coverage began on Monday as soon as the Texas Democrats began leaving the state, the House first, and then the senators followed them yesterday. So please stay with us as we continue to bring you the latest information about this unfolding situation. Again, our coverage on both sides is available on our website, KXAN.com, and on the KXAN News app. Thank you all again for watching. We appreciate it. I'm Will Dupree in the KXAN Live Studio. We'll see you back here later today. Everybody take care.